Good morning, good afternoon, happy Monday, everybody. Hope everyone had a good weekend. And so I want to start this off by having everyone share something good that's happened, something they're excited about, something that went well. And the reason I ask you all to do this is look, one of the most powerful forces in life is momentum. You know, when you have momentum in doing something, you're in like this flow state where everything seems like a good idea. But without momentum, everything kind of will get you stuck and you really don't know what you're doing. And the perfect example is going to the gym. You go to the gym every single day for a month, you feel good about your workouts, you're excited to go. You miss 3, 4 days, you start questioning yourself, do I really need to do this again? Right. And once you have momentum, you need to look for multipliers. What are people, places, and things that can amplify and multiply your efforts? Because you don't have to do things alone. So I call this the M&Ms of life. And if you always focus on your M&Ms, you're always on this consistent path of growth. Because knowing how to do your job is unfortunately not enough. There's this whole performance aspect to real estate where we need to make sure that our mind is aligned with our business, our goals, our schedule, and everything else. So everyone take a moment and just share something that they're excited about, something that they're building momentum, have momentum on, and dropping this in the chat right now is really helpful for your colleagues. If I were going through this and I was thinking about it, I would look at something that somebody else did and be like, hey, you know, I'd want to do that and look at putting that into my schedule. So let's see what we have. So drop a win in or something good that's happened to you over the weekend. It could be professional or personal. Have a potential new buyer, offer on a listing. What else do we got? Why is everyone being shy today? Douglas, now that's a win. Being consistent, working out and meditating every morning at 5 a.m. Nice time with friends and family. So my momentum multiplier win is I signed up for a marathon. A bunch of you have subsequently decided to either join or come to California to have a party after. Fun for us. And so 2 weeks ago, I ran no miles. Last week, I ran 28 miles. So that's something I've been building momentum in. And I've been using people around me as multipliers and accountability and also best practices for recovery and growth. So put that in there and let me introduce our guest today. So our guest today is a dear friend and then a client, but a friend first is Les Arnold. Les was one of the founding agents in Boston and has been here longer than I think pretty much anyone else I know since 2014. But more importantly, Les is thoughtful, kind, considerate, super present. If you ever have the opportunity to talk to her, the last person that she wants to talk about is herself. And she wants to spend all her time really genuinely learning about you as a person. She is one of the most smart, sophisticated, thought out agents. And if you ever need advice about real estate, a market, or just a friend to talk to, someone great to really engage with. And, you know, she is a really special person because there are not that many people that are really like that. And when you take the time to hear about how she talks about networking with other agents, one, it's a very refreshing perspective. And two, you'll realize how different dynamic she is and how she shares things that you can all do too, right? And, you know, I think the retreat comes up, there's Impact Day coming up. This is a really important thing, right? Getting referrals from agents is a huge part of people's business here. Like I know Caitlin Miller's here. She's on Jess Sigmund's team. Jess gets 70% of her business this year from Compass agents, right? And these aren't things that happen by accident. They're relationships that are formed. And the question is how do I form a relationship in an authentic way? And that's what I wanted to bring here. Les here to talk about today, because she is truly one of the most authentic people I've ever had the privilege of getting to know. So welcome back, Les. Round two.
Thank you for having me.
So tell them, how long have you been at Compass?
First of all, I've been in the business over 19 years. And I've been at Compass since it was actually September of 2015. Boston is the fourth market to launch nationally after New York, DC, and Miami beat us by about 6 weeks. I've been here a long time.
And so, you know, you have, what I've noticed is really interesting. You have a lot of agents who are like your really close friends that you've been in contact with for many, many years.
That's true. Yeah.
And so those kinds of close friendships don't happen by accident.
No, I I don't know. I don't really know how it started, but in the very beginning, when there were very few of us, I made it a point to get to know the New York and DC and Miami agents that preceded me. And then I made a point of showing up every time I had the opportunity. Before the pandemic, we didn't do a lot of this Zoom stuff. So it was actually showing up in person. And if I was invited to New York or somewhere else or any one of the retreats, I haven't missed one yet. I think that's part of it. But then also, I've made an effort, and I honestly, until you asked me to speak, I didn't realize how much of it comes from this, but to really befriend people that I'm interested in knowing through social media. Back when we started at Compass, when I started at Compass, social media was not as big of a part of our business as it is now. And reaching out authentically on post, even by DM, is how I met a lot of my closest friends that I have today. It's kind of funny. I mean, how many of them could say, yeah, she reached out to me first via Instagram, but it worked for me. Not like, hey, great listing, but something much more authentic, something much more personal. And then you have an opportunity to start a conversation if somebody bites back.
You know, when you start thinking about social media, like, let's go to an actual example. Like, what would you see somewhere that would be interesting, that would cause you to engage with someone, and talk about how you'd reach out to them? Because that's where people really get stuck.
From a social media perspective, there's a woman in Seattle named Kelly Weisfeld. I don't know, when Seattle launched, I was super excited that we were going to be, the Pacific Northwest. I reached out to her. I don't know exactly what I said, but I guess I made her feel like I wanted to know her, and she reached back, and little by little, we really became friends. Most recently, I was at a non-Compass networking event in Santa Monica, California, and frankly, was feeling relatively uncomfortable because I didn't feel like I knew anybody there. And I'm 6 feet tall, and that does not mean I'm confident. I'm more of a wallflower than most. And I walked in and felt relatively uncomfortable, but I saw a really tall guy, and I figured I'd feel comfortable and kind of lose my inhibition if I stood next to him. So I walked up and introduced myself, and turns out he was the top agent from Sotheby's in DC. And I instantly felt comfortable, but moreover, we've become great friends, because I basically was like, I'm so uncomfortable, will you stand here and be my date? And he was lovely and let me be. So sometimes it's just putting yourself out there and being authentic and vulnerable. And sometimes that's how you endear yourself to people, whether or not it's intended.
Now, you talk about vulnerability and just being transparent. There's something you said in the morning, which really was an eye opener. Sitting and being present versus, would you say, sitting and looking through somebody or scanning the room?
Oh, no. Go ahead.
I just want to give them some context, right? So we were talking about, like, when you meet somebody new, like, how do you really engage in the conversation, right? Like, you don't want to say, hi, my name is Chirag, I'm from Westport, Connecticut. If you ever need a top agent in Westport, I service the market. Like, you literally just seem like the quintessential salesperson. So I asked you earlier, what do you do when you meet somebody, right? How do you engage with them and everything? And you went through this premise of, like, really listening versus scanning the room. So share that with everybody. This is very important.
I mean, I think there's no point in having a conversation with somebody unless you're going to be completely present. What everybody wants is to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be heard. And so if you're going to take the time to sit next to somebody at a retreat or to talk to them, at an event, be with them. You never know what that person could bring to you, whether it's friendship, referrals, whatever. But it also, to me, is really disconcerting when I'm speaking to somebody and they're very obviously scanning the room, maybe looking for a better get than who they're talking to. I'm meaning me. I think that it's really remarkable, like, what you could find from almost anybody within the Compass family. You never know where your business or your next friendship or your support system could come from. So don't be looking for the next. Be focused on what you have in front of you, because you never know what it could bring you.
So you're saying literally, like, you've talked to people in the past, and I'm talking to you like this. I see a person, and they're not really attentive. Yeah. And they have the fallacy of expecting that that's going to turn into a relationship that bears some sort of anything.
For me, that doesn't work.
It shouldn't work for anybody. Right?
No, right. I mean, yeah, no, agreed. And some of the, quote, best networkers are people that do that, in my opinion. And I actually think it's much more authentic to be with somebody and make them feel seen and heard and understood and be there with them.
That's interesting, because now what I'm hearing is like this concept of the networker, right? I'm going to work the room versus a connector. I'm going to get to know you, right?
That's
And
great.
you're much more of a connector, right? It's kind of cool. I just made that up. So it's being a connector. So let's dive more into being a connector. So when you go meet somebody, like, what is your plan? Like, do you plan on engaging with them about, do you find something you find interesting about them? Do you find something about their business? Like, how do you go about doing this? Because this is where agents less really get stuck. It's like, well, all right, I'm going to meet somebody. Well, what do I say? How do I stay in touch with them? And all those things, so on and so forth.
I don't think you can go in with a plan. I think if you go in from a really authentic place that you want to get to know this person, the conversation will flow naturally. And I would never go in saying, I'm looking for a New York agent to send my business to. Will you be that agent for me? Because you never know. And frankly, I want lots of New York agents. I want lots of agents in San Francisco to know me. I mean, it's not like a one-time thing. But I think for me, it's more about the friendship. And a lot of the people I'm closest to within Compass have never sent me business because they've never had Boston business to send me. However, when someone in their office has mentioned Boston, a lot of these people will mention me. And so that's what you're hoping for, is that you build a relationship where people trust you enough that they're willing to give your name out, and that you in return will do the same thing for them if they make a similar impression.
So in terms of like giving your name out, right? You had talked about workplace and kind of best practices and how to reach out to people, the do's and don'ts. Why don't you share that with everybody?
Sure. Sorry, I have a penchant for being slightly blunt. I have a little bit of a problem with workplace because often, depending on the market, somebody will throw up that they need somebody in Boston, so to speak, as an example. And everyone jumps on saying that they're the person, or maybe there's a group of people that are supporting someone, but often that person is just not the right fit. And I would encourage you to not take business that is not your forte. If you really want to know the agent that is sending the business, but you know that maybe you're not, in my case, a South Shore agent covering Hingham, Cohasset, et cetera, I pick up the phone or I text or email the agent and I say, hey, listen, I want to make sure that you end up with somebody that's really the right person for that area. I'd love to give you these names, and I'd be happy to make a warm introduction if you need my help. I find often at Compass that people jump on and they go for things that are not really within their wheelhouse. I find that irritating. I think it makes us mostly look bad. We're all very competent agents, but if it's an area that you don't really cover and someone else is much better at it, you are better served to make sure it gets in the right hands. Make a warm introduction to someone else, and then you end up with the credit on both ends for being the bigger person, but also for being the connector.
So what do you do? If you gave my name and a couple other names out, do you reach out to the agents directly after, or you just kind of just send the name cold?
I do. I say, hey, Chirag, I just gave your name to, a woman from San Francisco that's looking for an agent in Juneau, Alaska. Isn't that your market? And you might hear from her. I don't want anything from that. I don't want any money. I don't want anything, but it's nice for people to know that they were thought of. And it's never with any, I'm never intending to be thought of back. It's more like, I come from a place of wanting to help people, to be honest with you. I want to see people do well. I want to see people end up in the right hands, but also help people really do well.
Again, that comes from the whole contributor thing. But if you think that's important, right? You give them a call, you share that information, but now there's 3 more conversations you had and
That's
3
right.
more opportunities to really add value in 3 new relationships.
That's right. It goes a long way. But I also think, again, not taking business that isn't meant for you is not going to clog up your day-to-day and your workflow if you're not taking something that's kind of out of your wheelhouse.
Look, I think the word here is also responsibility, right? We have a responsibility to our colleagues, our clients, and everyone in between to really just do the right thing. Now, let's shift gears to the retreats, right? Talk about an actual plan for the retreats. You had what I said was the best plan. What I think still is just an incredible plan on how to really work these retreats, some do's and some don'ts. Like, you've pretty much been to almost every Compass retreat ever.
That's right. And I will say that I don't have a plan anymore about retreats. I know so many people that for me, it's more of a reunion. Though, I end up meeting a handful of people every time that I add to my fold, which is really great. The The biggest mistake I see Compass agents making at retreats is so basic, but it's that they work the rooms, every cocktail party event, whatever, with somebody from their market. Get away from the people in your market, pick a buddy, a friend, somebody you just met, it doesn't matter, that does not have any conflict with you. Go around with them, because every agent you meet will not have to make a choice between you and the other Boston agent that they just met at the same time. They'll just remember you. So maybe working the room with somebody from, in my case, from San Francisco or for Denver is better if you're not comfortable doing it on your own.
So that's a part I never ever thought of, right? If I'm walking around, let's say Westchester, I used to be from Westchester. Caitlin, you're gonna be my buddy today. It's like I have 5 tiles. I always pick one of the 5. So if I was walking around with Caitlin, I never thought of that. Inadvertently, you're going to have to choose, right? Because if we're both from the same market, you're going to get twice the follows, which isn't a terrible thing, but it can put people in an awkward spot. And depending on their personality type, they might avoid both of you altogether just because they don't want a conflict.
That's right. And, you know, I realize now in Los Angeles, I had a new friend. So I'm a Boston agent. I've been up here since 1998. And like I said, an agent for 19 years, but I'm originally from Atlanta. And so when we launched the Atlanta market, and we were in LA for the retreat, the founding agent there is a guy named Jim Gessinger, who happens to cover the neighborhood that I grew up in. I took it upon myself to make sure that he was with me at any point he wanted to be during the retreat. And honestly, he met everybody I knew. And again, no conflict. He automatically had my seal of approval for the top people across the country. It was great for him. I'm not sure it's changed his business, but I know it changed his weekend. You know, and so even if you're you know, lucky enough to meet somebody that's been there for a while, that's a great person. But honestly, working the room with somebody that just isn't your market is a good enough, is good. It's better.
Same thing
running around in a pack with your office, you know?
Same thing with Impact Day. Get out of your market, for the love of God. Listen to me. Now I'm going to just give a go off on a little preamble here. I'm not saying it's not good to be in your office and culture, because people say, well, Chirag told me not to go to my office. That's what they tell the sales managers. And then I get these emails from people at Compass like, why are you telling people not to attend the office events? I'm not telling, I feel like it's like a news station. So I'm going to give the disclaimer here. I'm not saying don't engage with your office, by no means. What I'm saying is you're leaving your business, you're leaving your family, you're leaving your loved ones, you could be leaving a pet, you could be leaving anything behind, but you're leaving genuinely something behind to go somewhere new. Ask yourself, what am I really looking to get out of here? And is doing the same old thing ever going to get me something new? The answer is no. So for all of us going to the retreat, right, there's about 200 of you that we know that are coming. Go find a friend from this group or another group you're part of that you know nothing, that you've never really met before, and work the retreat with them. You can see your friend in your office another day. It is not bad, right? Unless you guys cover 2 completely different markets, fine. But don't go through this whole comfortable thing over and over and over again. You know, Les, I'll share a quick story with you. I remember when I was an employee at Compass and we're at the Miami retreat, and I worked out of primarily Westport, Connecticut, where I lived and everything. And they asked me, they go, are you going to come to the Westport party? And I said, no. And they said, well, why would you not want to come? And I said, well, I've already met all of you and I see you every week. Why would I want to go be with the same people I see all the time? And they were like offended. I said, you shouldn't be offended. I'll see you on Monday again. So while you're there, go and meet new people.
Right.
Right. And now let's talk about genuinely getting to know people versus business, right? Like let's go into that, of this whole concept of helping somebody be heard and seen, which I think is really, you know, it's like your superpower. You really care in every conversation that another person has with you, that they genuinely feel heard, acknowledged. And you said something really nice about meeting people and not always just looking for the top agent. So I'd like you just to touch upon
Sure.
that.
No, I mean, I think how you make people feel is what you have. And if you make someone feel seen and heard, valued, and important, they'll remember that. And for me, it's never coming from a place of trying to get your business. It's how can I connect, make a new friend, enrich my life? I mean, I'm not sure, I don't even know if you know this, but before Compass, I had good friends, but now I have amazing friends. I mean, the people that I have met through this network have radically changed my life. And in a day-to-day situation, monthly, weekly, whatever. I mean, I have people coming out of my ears that I never would have had the opportunity to know were I not to put myself out there at these retreats and in other ways at Compass. So I really credit Compass with not only changing my business, but with my personal life. What was your question? I totally got, what did you say?
When you meet people, how do you really engage with them? So like,
I don't know, it's kind of a superpower. I mean, whether it's through agents or frankly, like, never mind. I was about to say something inappropriate.
That's okay. We're all adults.
No, I mean, like, I'm single. I do online dating now and again, and I'm great at getting people to open up to me. I don't know why that is, but it is. And I just think sometimes just being authentic and open and present, people are really comfortable. And they end up, you know, I don't go at it from a place of hoping that I get money out of the conversation at all. Sometimes
I think if you do that, it would probably make you uncomfortable. That would make you uncomfortable.
I think it probably would. That's right.
So in terms of listening, right, and following up, you do a really good job when good things happen. You're such a cheerleader. I remember when I got selected by the 10 by 10 and like, look, now mind you, like we have a friendship that we built over time, but that's also a client. And, you know, you find something authentic about her. I have all these crazy things that happen to me throughout time, but she's one of the first people to say, hey, like, that's really incredible. Tell me more about that. You really deserve that. Like, you could tell there's such genuine intention and thought behind everything she does, right? So I think synthesizing that for everybody is how you say something is more important than just saying something at all. Correct?
I agree. I think completely.
So in staying in touch with people, right?
Yeah. Right. No,
what are ways that you do that?
I mean, I follow up on, I mean, and listen, there's no exact science to it. It's kind of like the whims that occur to me. But if I see something, I'm likely to chime in. And it's a new listing. It's a friend of mine. On Instagram, I might not say great listing. I might say, holy smokes, that's a hell of a listing. I'm so proud of you. I don't know. That's a lot more personal than great listing. Or I might write them privately, or I might text them. I don't know. I think being people's cheerleader, even if you've just met them or you've never met them, it goes a long way.
Yeah. You know, it is true. You know, and you have this great premise. I just dropped you a chat and you shared this. And actually, this is from somebody else that sent me the chat in the morning thing. So can you touch upon this?
Yes. And I'm sorry, that is what you said. I would encourage everybody to not only be interested in the very top agents, meeting the very, very top agents everywhere. I mean, I often find, honestly, every agent hired by Compass has a ton to offer. And you never know where your next business or your great friendship is going to come from. To only focus on the tip top people is a fool's errand, in my opinion, because while they are wonderful and there is a reason for their success, there are so many more people with so many more layers. I don't know. Did I recap it? Was that right?
It's your thoughts, right?
Okay.
No, it was funny in the morning session. She stood up and like, I'm not what you guys think I am. Look, my hand's shaking. I'm like really nervous.
I mean, I'm a little less nervous than I was this morning. This morning I was literally sweating through my dress. I feel a little more comfortable, but I think that not everybody has the same goals. I'm going to admit this on a national call. I do not want to be the #1 agent in Boston. I am very comfortable with the business I have. I'm very comfortable with my position at Compass. And I think there are a lot of really good agents out there that are very comfortable in the businesses they have, and every one of them is worth knowing. Does that make sense? I mean, like, you know.
Yeah, it is. And look, another thing is if you just reach out to people, now I'm taking your own stuff, right? This is not my thought process. She said, Les said this morning, hey, just reach out to people and say, hey, Chirag, I really would just like to get to know you. I saw this and this and found it interesting. Would you like to connect for a quick call? And you'd be surprised, right, Les, how many people engaged with that?
Yeah, there's an agent who I'm not going to say the name, but that I was relatively intimidated to call, that I really wanted to be friends with. And she is flabbergasted that I was intimidated, but I did reach out. We have become friends. She has become friends with some of my other people. And it's been really awesome, and a reminder that everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, and that everybody likes to be thought of, you know? So the top agents to all the way down to the people that are brand new on teams. I've been going back and forth with a guy since this morning that's a newer agent on Long Island. And I'm finding that conversation as beneficial as some of the ones I'm having with people ongoing that are top agents throughout the country. Like, he's teaching me a lot about humility, and I'm enjoying the conversation just as much.
See, again, no determined outcome. People are people. So I want to give, if anyone has any questions for Les, drop them in the chat. We have a few more minutes, and, drop a yes if you've learned something impactful, right? From the way of seeing through people, the way of engaging with people, the way of planning out your retreats. Like, I'll still go back to this, the whole concept of, if you go to the person in the market, you're asking somebody to make a choice, right? And like, that is something really powerful to think about, right? The power of people, the power of connection, the power of being heard, helping people be seen. And literally, this is like a blueprint on how to engage with people and clients, especially people in this company, right? It's really remarkable. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat, and we'll make sure it gets addressed in these last couple minutes we have. I'm interested, Les, to see who's going to find a new retreat buddy in this group.
I think a lot of people will. It apparently has not occurred to very many people that you shouldn't be going around with people in your office. But I took the opportunity on the East Coast call to apologize to New England for ditching them at the past 10 retreats. But there was a method to my madness. I mean, it was making a chance, giving myself the opportunity to meet people without conflict.
Yeah. Where do you usually meet people at the retreat? Do you set up coffee dates? Now you got to go back to your early retreats.
Yeah, I mean, I do some of that, but I also I force myself out of my comfort zone. And force myself to walk up to people and introduce myself, which is not something I'm typically great at. But you've got to try that. I'm not really a late night person, but if you can stand to stay until people are still out, as long as they're still standing, there's always somebody you'll meet at the end of the night. There's somebody you'll meet if you go and work out first thing in the morning. I mean, just make eye contact and be the first one to say hello, because that other person is just as nervous about not knowing anybody in the room as you are.
So Nathan, Nate wants to know, do you have a formula on what you're going to talk about?
No, I kind of let it flow. I mean, it could be talking about somebody's cute shoes, or I don't know. I mean, their haircut. I don't know. Like I find an opener. It could be just something as simple as, I see that you're from Austin. I don't know any agents in Austin. Tell me about your market. But generally, I don't even go anywhere near real estate when I approach someone.
100% personal.
Yeah, personal.
Oh, here's a question. Bonnie wants to know, my business partner and I are going to the retreat. Do you think we should split up, or we should and meet different people, or should we stay together?
Oh gosh, split up. You'll meet twice as many people, make twice as many friends, and your business will be impacted twice as much. Get out of your comfort zone. You guys can do it.
Yep.
And don't pair up with a team, from the same city. Mix it up so that you end up meeting even more people.
Someone said that they met up with 6 people or 7 people at another retreat, and the group has shared 6 referrals in the last 6 months. So
that's fabulous.
Friendships are incredible. So look, my team always says that I do a horrible job at asking for the survey. So guys, here I did it 1 minute in advance. If you guys all could hit the quick survey while we all wrap up, that would be great. And we always appreciate you sharing your stuff. And look, feedback's really important, right? The whole goal is continuous improvement. So before we wrap up, any parting words, Les?
No, I just, real estate's hard enough in our business. I mean, it's a very solitary, lonely environment, no matter where you work. And I think Compass has provided us with this amazing kind of universe of people to connect with that are living the same lives as we are. There are more people than you realize that you would really connect with if you put yourself out there. It's worth doing. Sometimes it is not a connection. That has certainly happened to me. But if you really are willing to take the risk, you'll end up with more friends and deeper relationships than you thought possible. This company has changed my life. A lot of people that I'm very close to are on this phone call, and we're on the earlier call. I don't know. I can't say enough about the caliber of the people that Compass has put together and the opportunity that we all have to reap the benefit.
So we have some nice comments in here. Thank you. Need to hear this today. I think saying you won't be a top agent, sure. However, none of us can actually say being a top agent would be a bad thing. I think being the most professional, responsive, and genuinely kind person is huge and trumps the beginning, being number one. Yep, that's the message, right? Be great, be inspired. I put Les's email in here. She likes hearing from all of you. So if you want to connect with her, there's her email. And look, I will say this to everyone: go out, be authentic, be yourself, help people be seen, heard, listened to, and great things will happen. And as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. I hope everyone has a great week. And tomorrow we're going to be doing a fun thing. We'll send an email out. We're going to break everyone up into Zoom rooms, which means that we're going to be doing our version of speed dating. So we are going to be showing you how to meet each other. So show up, make sure you take a shower, get your hair did, if you're like me, you want to get your eyebrows done, and be ready to engage with everyone else. So we will see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Les.
Of course. Nice to meet everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Amy, Amanda, about my eyebrows. I don't know why I felt the need to say that today, but I did. All right. Bye, everybody.